It's really challenging not to feel overwhelmed, overcome, despondent, sad with all of the things that are happening in the world, all of the things that are happening now, all of the things that have been happening over the last several years in particular. And oftentimes, when things are going so horribly wrong, whether it's in our personal lives or whether it's in the world at large, we often look to large solutions. We're looking to the big things, right? We're looking for world leaders to step in and fix things and go to the United Nations. We're looking for bosses. We're looking for really big things. And I was reflecting on what would be the solution. And for a moment, I kind of felt like I was on a pageant stage. What do I want most? I want world peace. But here's something that struck me. As some of you may know, and I've shared before, for most of my school life, I went to a convent school. I wasn't Catholic growing up, but I went to a convent school because it was one of the best schools in the city that I lived. And I learned many things, learned many prayers, many of which I've forgotten. But the one that has stayed with me and one that I have come back to over and over again has been the prayer of St. Francis. Now, you don't need to be religious and we don't need to approach this from a religious perspective. But if we just reflect on his words, I think that they're some of the most profound words when it comes to looking for the solutions that we all so desperately want. And something that struck me, because in the past, when I've been reading them, I've been looking at it from an inside out. What is it that I need to do out in the world? But I thought about it differently more recently. And it's like, what do I need to do within myself? What is it that I need to do to find peace with me? Is one of the things that I think many of us don't spend the time to think about or don't want to think about is, are you truly at peace with yourself? Because we look for peace out there. We want world peace. And yet, do we have peace within ourselves? Are we at peace with ourselves? And so I went back to the prayer of St. Francis and really looked at the words and looked at them from a place of reflecting about what is it that I need to do with me? Where is it that I need to come at myself, to myself, from a place of compassion, from a place of love, from a place of forgiveness? And if you go through the prayer, he says, make me an instrument of your peace. And to the question that I just asked, are you at peace with yourself? Because peace is not something that is out there. There is nothing that can ever happen or that can ever be given to you that will give you peace. Peace ultimately is an inside job. And it really is about you reflecting and thinking about what is it that would make you feel at peace? What are the things right now that make you feel not at peace? And what are those things that you need to resolve within yourself? Because how can we expect to show up as peace in the world if we don't have peace within ourselves? The prayer says, where there is hatred, let me sow love. One of the most profound things that I've ever read is from the book by Anita Moorjani, Dying to Be Me. And in there, she talks about the fact that, so often we talk about how we love people. We love our spouses. We love our children. And yet she says, how is it possible that you can love somebody else? How you can give love to somebody else when you cannot give that love to yourself? She says that it's play acting. If you cannot give to yourself what you give to others, how is that real? And so that really is a question for us to come back to is, do I love me? Am I in a position of self-love? What is it that I'm doing to show my self-love? Because again, how can I show up in the world as love and be loving if I don't have love for myself? What if we came from a place of loving ourselves? Think about what a different world that would be if we all truly loved ourselves, how we would show up differently in the world. The prayer says, where there is injury, pardon. Injury, in the sense, and the way that I interpreted this, is forgiveness, where there's been something that has been done that needs to be pardoned, that needs to be forgiven. And when I again reflected on myself, where is it that I fail to forgive myself? Where is self-forgiveness lacking in my own life? Because again, if I cannot give it to somebody else, How can I expect that I can give it to myself? How can I show up in the world giving somebody else forgiveness when I cannot even extend that to myself? Where there is doubt, faith. Doubt has killed more dreams than any failures possibly could. We show up with so much doubt, doubt about ourselves, about our abilities, doubt about our place in the world, doubt about what is possible for ourselves. And so when we're showing up from a place of doubting ourselves, how can we have faith in anything outside of ourselves? And so what if we started to truly have faith in ourselves, in our abilities, in what is possible for us? How would that be reflected in the world? How would we show up differently in the world from a place of faith? Faith in ourselves and then extending that beyond ourselves. Where there is despair, hope. It's so easy, especially with everything that is going on, with what has happened over the last 3 years, to show up from a place of despair. There's so many reasons, so much in the world that mirrors to us the fact that we should be in despair. And yet, what if? What if we allowed ourselves to hope, to dream a different dream, to dream of a different possibility, to hope in a different possibility, to hope in possibility for ourselves, to show up from a place of hoping that things can be better, that things truly can be better for us and in turn for the world at large. Where there is darkness, light. I often think about the fact that one candle can dispel darkness. I'm from a country where often there are power cuts. And so people in my home country in Zimbabwe are often dependent on candles. So literally kids have grown up doing homework by candles, cooking by candles, all of the things by candlelight. One candle. It has such meaning because that one candle can spread its light in one room, can just take away the darkness in that one room. And so imagine if we show up in the world as light, if we are light for ourselves, first of all, and then we show up in the world as light. And then imagine if all of those lights came together. Imagine what would be possible. What if we all showed up as light in the spaces that we enter, in all of the things that we do? We show up as our best, our brightest. What if we allow our light to shine? Because I know this for sure, that when we allow our light to shine, it gives permission to other people to shine their lights. It gives other people hope. It gives other people inspiration for them to shine brightly. And yet we live in a world where so often we use our words, we use our actions to dim light. How often on social media do we see people being canceled? How often do we see people on social media being vilified? We're putting out someone's light. Someone dared to dream. Someone dared to put themselves out there. And then we use our words, our emojis to put out their light. And so I really want us as we go through the world to think about, how can I be light? And how can I allow someone else and encourage someone else for them to shine their light in the world? The prayer of St. Francis says, where there is sadness, let me bring joy. One of the most profound things that I learned in my meditation teacher training were the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, where he said that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. There is power in sadness. I think we live in a world where we want to numb any bad feelings. We want it to be only good vibes. But there's a danger in only good vibes because we were made to feel the full gamut of emotions. Our emotions are our GPS. They're our signaling system. When we're sad, it's telling us something. And instead of us wanting to always turn our back on that to numb that sadness, it's really allowing ourselves to sit with that sadness and say, what is it that you're here to show me? And through examining that, allowing ourselves to get to a place of joy. What is it that you're here to show me? What if we allowed ourselves to feel the sadness? Because it is through feeling that sadness that ultimately we can experience joy. How can you know what joy is if you've never felt sadness? And so what if we allowed ourselves to feel sadness? But what if we also intentionally sought joy? These are all the words that came from the prayer of St. Francis, where he says, let me not seek to be the one who's being consoled, but rather to seek to console others. Let me not seek to be understood, but instead to understand. We live in such a world where everybody's arguing for their position, where I want you to believe what I believe. But what if we could live in a world where it is okay for you to believe what you believe, and it is okay for me to believe what I believe? I don't have to convince you. You don't have to be to convince me. I can be secure in my beliefs and allow you to be secure in your beliefs. We don't have to understand each other. We don't have to be in a place where we both believe the same thing for us to be able to live together in peace, to be able to understand each other, to be compassionate with each other. And what if we sought to love instead of being loved? So much of what people seek now is validation from others, love from others, external. But what if that love was to start with me? What if I was to start by loving myself? And then through loving myself, I can then go into the world from a place of having a cup full of love. I then have love to give to others, instead of wanting other people to fill my cup with love because I cannot fill my own cup. What if we all showed up from a place of fully loving ourselves and then wanting to share that love with others? What if the peace that we're looking for, the solutions that we're looking for, all start with us? Everything that we want is already within us. And I truly believe that the work of our lifetimes is to find it, not from outside of ourselves, but to find it within ourselves. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. I truly hope that whatever it is that you do today, that you would remember always that you are worthy to be, to do, to have whatever it is your heart desires. And my great wish for you is that peace would be with you.